At exactly 6:42 a.m., my phone vibrated on the kitchen table. Not rang. Not chimed. Just vibrated, short, dry, impatient. I didn't move. The house was quiet in that uncomfortable early morning way. When everything feels paused but not peaceful. The heater clicked once, then went silent. Somewhere down the street, a car door slammed, followed by an engine that refused to start on the first try. The phone vibrated again. I glanced at it. Linda. I remember thinking, that's early. I wiped my hands on the dish towel and picked it up, expecting something small. Maybe she forgot her charger. Maybe she wanted me to wake Emily before school. Instead, I saw this: plans changed. You're not coming with us. Emily wants her real dad there. That was it. No, hey. No, we need to talk. No explanation. Just a sentence. Clean. Efficient. Final. I stared at the screen, waiting for the second message. The one that would soften it. Explain it. Take it back. Nothing came. The phone stayed warm in my hand, like it was still alive. Still waiting for something from me. I locked the screen and placed it face down on the table. For a few seconds, I didn't breathe. Not because I was shocked. Because something inside me had gone quiet. 14 years. That's how long I'd been here. 14 years of early mornings. Late nights, quiet sacrifices. That never made it into conversations. Because they weren't dramatic enough to mention. And now, with one message, I was apparently replaceable. I poured myself coffee even though my hands were shaking slightly. The mug was chipped on the rim. Emily had dropped it when she was 10, cried harder than the mug deserved. I'd told her it was fine, that imperfect things still worked. I took one sip. It tasted like nothing. 14 years earlier, Linda had stood in a different kitchen, but with the same nervous posture. "This is Emily," she said, placing a hand on the shoulder of a skinny, quiet 8-year-old girl. Emily didn't look at me. She stared at the floor like it might open up and swallow her. I crouched down to her level. "Hi," I said. "I'm Mark." She nodded once. Didn't smile. Didn't speak. That was fine. Later that night, Linda told me everything. Her marriage. The divorce. The man who left before Emily learned to spell his name. "She's been through enough," Linda said quietly. "I don't want another man disappearing on her." I remember answering, without hesitation, "I'm not going anywhere." And I meant it. The years after that didn't feel heroic. They felt normal. School mornings. Packed lunches. Homework arguments. I became the one who knew Emily's schedule better than anyone. The one who remembered dentist appointments. The one who showed up to parent-teacher meetings and sat in those tiny plastic chairs like it didn't matter. Teachers assumed I was her father. I never corrected them. When Emily got braces, I paid for them. When she needed a car, I taught her how to drive it. When she had her first heartbreak, I sat on the edge of her bed and listened while she cried into my sleeve. Linda used to stand in the doorway and watch. At what? I once asked. Being there. The cruise was Linda's idea. Just us, she'd said. We need time together. Emily was 16 by then. Busy. Independent. Half in her own world already. The tickets weren't cheap, but I didn't hesitate. I never did when it came to family. I took time off work. Handled the logistics. Packed without thinking twice. Until the morning I found out I wasn't part of it anymore. My phone buzzed again while I was still standing in the kitchen. I didn't look at it. I already knew who it was. 20 minutes later, another vibration. This time, I checked. It's not personal. Emily just needs closure. Closure. That word sat heavy in my chest. You don't erase 14 years and call it closure. You don't rewrite history because it suddenly feels inconvenient. I didn't reply. Instead, I put on my jacket and went to work. I'm an accountant. Numbers make sense to me. They follow rules. They don't change the story halfway through and expect you to applaud. That day, I stared at my computer screen for hours without actually seeing it. Emails came in. Deadlines passed. My phone buzzed again and again. I ignored every single one. By lunchtime, something had shifted. The hurt didn't disappear, but it organized itself. That evening, the house was empty when I came home. Linda and Emily were at dinner. With him. Jason. That was his name. I sat alone at the kitchen table, opened my laptop, and didn't start with anger. I started with facts. The house. It was in my name. Not because I planned it that way, it had just made sense at the time. Linda's credit wasn't great after the divorce. Mine was solid. We're a team, I told her. She'd agreed. The savings account. Mostly mine. The college fund. Fully mine. Emily was the beneficiary. That could stay. This wasn't about punishing a child. This was about understanding where I stood. When Linda came home later that night, she looked tired but excited. Jason's changed, she said, like she was delivering good news. He wants to be involved. He feels terrible about everything. That's good, I said. She paused. You're okay. I nodded. She relaxed. That was the moment I realized something important. She wasn't worried about how I felt. She was worried about resistance. Over the next few weeks, I watched carefully. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I listened. Linda talked about Jason constantly. About his regrets. About Emily's emotions around him. She never once asked me how it felt to be erased. The cruise photos appeared online. Emily smiling. Linda glowing. Jason standing close. Comments poured in, beautiful family. So happy for you. Everything happens for a reason. I closed the app. While they were gone, I worked quietly. I met with a lawyer. Do you want revenge? He asked. I shook my head. I want peace. He nodded. Those are the easiest cases. By the time they returned, everything was already moving. I greeted them calmly. Smiled when expected. 2 days later, I asked Linda to sit down. She knew something was wrong. What's this about? She asked. I slid the envelope across the table. She opened it. Her smile vanished. What is this? She whispered. Notice, I said. I'm selling the house. She laughed first. Then she realized I wasn't joking. And that's where things truly began to change. Linda stared at the papers like they were written in a foreign language. For a long moment, she didn't speak. She flipped a page. Then another. Her fingers trembled just slightly. Just enough that I noticed, and she noticed that I noticed. This isn't funny, she finally said. I know, I replied. That calmness in my voice unsettled her more than yelling ever could have. You're being dramatic, she added quickly. You're hurt. I get that. But selling the house? That's extreme. I leaned back in my chair. No, I said. What's extreme is telling someone they're disposable after 14 years and expecting them to keep paying the rent of your comfort. Her mouth opened. Closed again. That was new. Emily stood in the doorway the entire time. She hadn't announced herself. She never did anymore. Teenagers learn how to exist quietly when they don't want to be questioned. Mom, she said. Linda turned, relief washing over her face like a lifeline. Sweetheart, tell him he's being unreasonable. Emily looked at me. Really looked at me. Not like a daughter looks at a dad. Like someone studying a stranger whose reaction they miscalculated. Are you actually selling? She asked. Yes, I said. Her brows pulled together. But where will we live? There it was. Not where will you live, Mark. We. That word again. Used when convenient. Discarded when not. I've already arranged a short-term rental, I said. For myself. Silence filled the room. Thick. Heavy. Uncomfortable. Linda laughed again. But this time it cracked halfway through. You can't do this without talking to me, she said. We're married. I did talk, I replied. You texted. Remember. That night, I slept in the guest room. Not because I was kicked out. Because I was already leaving. The next few days were strange. Linda shifted between anger and sweetness like someone flipping radio stations. Trying to find the one that would work. She cooked my favorite meals. Asked how work was going. Touched my arm in passing like muscle memory. Jason called twice. I didn't answer. Emily avoided me entirely. Until Thursday night. I was folding laundry when she appeared in the doorway. Can I ask you something? She said. Sure. She hesitated. Do you hate me? The question hit harder than anything else so far. I set the towel down slowly. No, I said. I don't hate you. Then why does it feel like you're punishing me? I looked at her, really looked. She wasn't a child anymore. She was old enough to understand consequences. I'm not punishing you, I said gently. I'm stopping myself from being punished quietly. She frowned. That doesn't make sense. It will, I said. Later. She nodded, unsatisfied, and walked away. The realtor came the following week. Linda wasn't home. I didn't tell her. Not because I was hiding it, but because for the first time, I wasn't seeking permission. As the realtor walked through the house, clipboard in hand, I saw things differently. The scuff marks on the walls from years of passing through. The dining table where I'd always taken the seat that faced outward. The chair I slid back in whenever tension rose. I never realized how much space I was giving away. The listing went live on a Tuesday morning. By Wednesday afternoon, we had interest. By Friday, offers. Linda found out through a neighbor. That was the moment the war truly started. She came home furious. You embarrassed me, she yelled. Do you know what people are saying? I don't care, I replied. You made me look heartless. I almost laughed. Jason showed up that night. Uninvited. He stood in my doorway like he belonged there. Man to man, he said. You're being selfish. I didn't raise my voice. You left, I said. You don't get to lecture me about staying. He scoffed. That was years ago. So was everything I did for Emily, I replied. Funny how time only matters when it benefits you. Emily appeared behind him. Eyes wide. Jason turned to her. Tell him you want me here. She hesitated. That hesitation changed everything. The offer I accepted came fast. Young couple. Pregnant. Needed stability. I saw myself in them. I said yes. Signing day felt unreal. My hand shook only once. When the pen touched paper. After that, I felt light. Like someone who finally set something heavy down. Linda didn't believe it was real until the locks changed. She screamed. Cried. Threatened court. Emily didn't say a word. Not then. That night, I packed. Not everything. Only what mattered. The rest stayed. Including the dining table. Including the chair. I didn't need them anymore. I drove away before sunrise. No music. Just the road. And silence. But this time, silence didn't hurt. It healed. The first court notice arrived on a Friday afternoon. Linda had filed. Not for divorce. For the house. I didn't panic. I didn't even feel angry. I felt ready. The courthouse smelled like old paper and disinfectant. Linda arrived late. Emily followed her. Jason walked behind them like an afterthought. I noticed something then. Emily didn't walk beside him. She walked closer to me. Just a step. But it mattered. The mediator flipped through the file slowly. Linda spoke first. He abandoned us, she said. I waited. When it was my turn, I placed my folder on the table. I didn't abandon anyone, I said calmly. I stopped paying for a life. I wasn't allowed to belong to deed, mortgage, bank statements, college transfers, my name, everywhere. The mediator read carefully. There's no standing here to challenge the sale, she said. This matter is closed. Outside, the sun felt too bright. Emily caught up to me. I didn't know, she said. About everything. I know, I replied. Months passed. Silence became a boundary. Emily reached out. We talked. Not to go back, but to understand. It wasn't a happy ending. It was an honest one. What I learned, what took 14 years and one quiet text message to understand, is this. Love without respect is just labor. And silence, when it's chosen, can be a kind of strength. Sometimes justice doesn't shout. Sometimes it just signs the papers, packs the truck, and keeps going.